To understand Nostradamus's quatrains, you first must understand Nostradamus. He was a physician, an astrologer, who lived in a time of religious conflicts and persecutions. This may be why he has to hide the true meanings of his prophecies in the poem-like quatrains. In 1555, Nostradamus published his first part of his book of prophecies. Then in 1556, Queen Catherine asked Nostradamus to come to Paris. He worked as a physician for Catherine de' Medici, Queen of France between 1547 and 1559. He grouped the poems in 100 and called them a century. The last 58 quatrains in century 7 were lost. So we have only 942 of his predictions today. One of his most famous predictions was fulfilled in 1559 when Henry II of France died. Nostradamus's quatrain number 1 through 35, quote, "The young lion will overcome the older one. On the field of combat in a single battle, he will pierce his eyes through a golden cage. 2 wounds made 1, then he dies a cruel death. Personally, I am not that impressed. Comet de Montgomery, who wounded Henry II in a jousting accident, was only 6 years younger than Henry II of France. It is a bit stretching calling him young at age 34. In 1556, Queen Catherine asked Nostradamus to plot the horoscope of her 7 children. We don't know what else was said to Queen Catherine, but just from what was in the book of prophecy, the predictions seem to have been fulfilled with undisputable accuracy. Quatrain 4:07, quote, "The minor son of the great and hated prince. He will have a great touch of leprosy at the age of 20. Of grief his mother will die very sad and emaciated, and he will die where the loose flesh falls." I believe the minor son is a reference to Queen Catherine's youngest son, Duke of Anjou, Hercules, who later changed his name to Francis. He became heir to the throne at age 20, and he was infected with smallpox at age 8, which left him scarred, kind of similar to leprosy. Although he died in 1584 and never became the king, his life caused great sadness to his mother as he joined Protestant lords and forced his brother Henry III to sign the pro-Protestant Peace of Monsieur. After losing the war in Antwerp, he became seriously ill with malaria. His mother brought him back to Paris, where he did reconcile with his brother, King Henry III, before his untimely death at age 29. In another quatrain, 6:29, more reference to the conflicts between her sons, quote, "The saintly widow, hearing the news of her offspring placed in perplexity and trouble, he who will be instructed to appease the quarrels, he will pile them up by his pursuit of the shaven heads." Catherine's youngest son, Duke of Anjou's fraction with the crown was devastating to both his brother the king and his mother, Catherine de' Medici. She is said to have written to him the following, quote, "Would to God you had died young. You would then not have been the cause of the death of so many brave gentlemen." From this quote alone, you can see how his widowed mother felt about the fights between her 2 sons. Although these are probably not the predictions Queen Catherine wished to hear, these predictions did come true the way they were described to her. Here are some more predictions I found about her children. 1:85, quote, "The king is troubled by the queen's reply. Ambassadors will fear for their lives. The greater of his brothers will doubly disguise his action. Two of them will die through anger, hatred, and envy. I believe this is about King Charles IX of France, Catherine's second king's son. Charles and both his brothers were candidates to marry Queen Elizabeth I. Any lady should jump on the offer, right? King Charles must be troubled by the Queen's reply. Who can refuse such a proposal? Especially when she was offered to pick any of the three. If it did not work, it must be the fault of the incompetent ambassadors, right? Actually, in 1560, when King Charles IX was first listed as Queen Elizabeth's suitor, he was only 10. While his brother Henry was 9, and brother Francis was only 5. Elizabeth I was 27. And with a long list of other suitors to pick, you can't blame her for turning down King Charles's offer. After all, who wants to wait for a husband to grow up? However, in 1579, Catherine's youngest son, Duke of Anjou, the 24-year-old Francis, became the only foreign suitor to court Queen Elizabeth. Despite the age difference, the two soon became very close. But English Protestant nobles warned the Queen that, quote, "The hearts of the English people will be galled when they shall see you take a husband, a Frenchman, and a Papist." Yet between 1578 and 1581, the Queen resurrected attempts to negotiate a marriage with him. But in 1581, Elizabeth finally said farewell to him. On his departure, she penned a poem on Monsieur's departure, which showed that she was serious about marrying him, at least at one time. When Charles's youngest brother died at age 29, followed by King Henry III's assassination in 1589, the last part of this prophecy quatrain was fulfilled, as they both died with anger, hatred, and envy. I'm surprised that no one before me thought that this to be a prophecy about Charles III. Maybe they thought it was a queen talking to her king. But the ambassador reference made it quite clear that was not the case. Most of Nostradamus' prophecies are about people he never met. With the exception of Queen Catherine de' Medici and Queen Mary of Scots. Did Nostradamus warn Catherine about Queen Mary's miserable life ahead? Does that have anything to do with Queen Catherine's resentment of her? What he told Queen Catherine can never be known. But you get to see what was written about her in the Book of Prophecy. Yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift. But for Nostradamus, the mystery of tomorrow was his challenge to solve today. This is Ken Peters. Thank you for watching.